And we're finally back. Don't have an official name for the podcast just yet, but we're in our new studio right here in downtown, ready to get on here and talk to you guys again and invite some of you guys over. I'm here with Nate and Vic, bringing back the podcast. That way we can have conversations with everybody here. I know you guys have been missing out on it. We've been out for about roughly 2 months, and now we're ready to jump right back into it. More excited than ever. It was a good little break for all of us, and we're going to jump right into it.
So, yeah. I mean, I noticed that since we had our break, a lot of little podcasts started popping up here and there. But I specifically want to call out one podcast that they just straight up copied our old podcast studio, which is super strange. I have no idea who. It's almost like if somebody came onto our podcast and told them exactly how our studio was set up, because I was scrolling and I saw, their podcast, and I'm like, what the heck? I said, that looks like our old. I thought they had leased our old office, which, by the way, if you're interested in a really nice podcast studio, that office is for lease, and I can lease it to you. Instead of making a knockoff of what we had, it's best you just rent what we used to have, and we can actually teach you and train you how to do a real podcast.
Let's get into that. I think we spoke about it a while ago. We've had some guests come into the podcast, and for the longest time, I would sit in the back room and just watch. And I would see a lot of people, you guys mentioned the people would like take pictures, or like videos, or record equipment. I always thought it was strange. And I think, talking about business and things like that, we talk about not having a lot of help, starting our business and setting different things up. I encourage everyone to just ask, if you want to know something. I mean, it's literally, you don't have to gatekeep, and 9 times out of 10, people won't gatekeep. People value relationships. They value the camaraderie. They want to build businesses. They want to build up your sphere. And I think I've always asked. I got into this business really young, and that was my superpower. I used it as, I don't know what I'm doing. I'd appreciate the help. Guide me, help me. I'd take some direction, and people always help me, for one reason or the other. And I'm happy to pay that forward. I don't know. Do you feel differently?
No, I'm happy to show anybody how to set up a podcast. I feel like I spent a lot of money, a lot of trial and error. And yes, if somebody came, I would tell them, hey, man, don't use this, don't use that. What do you want to use it for? Just like I always do with everything, But, really somebody starting a podcast doesn't bother me at all, right? I think it's more of the, they start their podcast kind of like, hey, look, I'm doing it too, right? Or like almost like they got over on you, Mm-hmm. And that's the part that bothers me, But honestly, everybody says they have a podcast, but nobody has a consistent podcast. Everybody just gets on there, talks about their feelings, talks about their specific topics that they know a lot about and talk about. And that's something that I think keeps it uninteresting, right? I think what's interesting is that we invite anybody and everybody to come on this podcast, even other realtors, other brokers, different industries. Like, we don't care, we want to talk about it. And I'm fine with being on a podcast and just not know what the heck is going on, like, or what they're talking about. Cause I like to learn, and I like to see other, what other people's, their perspectives are on what we do or what they do, So yeah. I don't have a problem with that at all.
Yeah, I always expected for somebody to come in and try to duplicate what we're doing, simply because, in my opinion, realtors are the most uncreative people. 9 times out of 10, the reason why they got their license is because they filled out their dreams and they weren't creative enough to make that succeed. Okay. In my opinion, which, I mean, look, I'm not saying that there wasn't another real estate podcast before, because there has been. And in my opinion, the only thing that matters is like what Drake says, right? It's not about who did it first, it's about who did it better. We're not the first ones, but we're always going to be the ones who do it better. So everybody else can start another podcast. You're not going to be as consistent as we are. You're not going to be as good as we are. And that's just the nature of the business, because we constantly refine ourselves. This is not just something that we do just to kick it or to promote who we are personally, but we're actually trying to get business people come on here and talk about themselves. So this podcast here, as much as everybody says, oh, you guys are just trying to be superstars, 9 times out of 10, it's not even about us. We bring people on here to talk about their experience, to get to know them better and put a light on them, because we're about our community and the people that we're helping.
I would have to say that, a lot of people do say that, right? They're like, oh yeah, you get the podcast, you want to get famous, you want to get whatever. And I was like, no, I don't think I even wanted anybody outside of our industry, right, to really notice or see our podcast. And I just thought it was super funny or surprising, really, when I would go places and people knew who I was. And I was like, okay. I'm like, okay. And they're like, hey, you're from the podcast. I'm like, yeah. Like, and just randomly out of like, not like at a realtor event, right? Like randomly somewhere I was at, and people were like, yeah, man, I see what you say. Yeah, man, and that's the thing that has always got me about this, or that I don't understand, right? About this is that I post on Instagram, I get 0 likes. I get a lot of views, 0 likes, or maybe 1 or 2 likes, and no comments, nothing, right? But yet I'll run into people in the street and they all agree with me. Oh man, you need to, you tell it how it is. Oh, you this, oh, you that. I'm like, well, I mean, why don't you show that I'm telling it how it is? Why don't you like say a comment or share or whatever, right? And then I'll run into people who, they think I'm talking about them. And I'm like, who are you again? I'm not talking about you. I don't know. It's just whatever I'm saying. It's so. I guess I want to, for lack of better words, right? It's so real, right? Like this is actually what's happening in our industry. This is actually what's happening with what's going on here, right? So when I say these things, some people feel like I'm personally attacking them, and I'm like, I have no idea who you are. I'm not attacking you. I don't know what you're going through. I'm telling you what I'm seeing in this industry and what needs to be fixed and what needs to be corrected,
Well, the saying is a hit dog hollers, right? So, of course, if they took the hit, they're hollering, they're complaining, they feel some type of way about it. It's funny because, we can look at 2 aspects of, like, whenever it comes to dress code and real estate. There's a video of a girl walking away, and she's like, a view of me being your realtor. And then you have comments on there of 2 people, like, there's one person, okay, yeah, that's why it's so bad that realtors are dressed the way that they are. They're not taking their profession seriously. Then you have the other side where it's like, oh no, like we champion this, right? So whatever we say, it's only going to hurt the people that actually do that, and it bothers them. And if it bothers you, then it might be time for you to change what you're doing because it's bothering you. I know some realtors that dress, like, in my opinion, be disrespectful, show up like that at an open house or show your client, but they embrace it and it works for them, right? As long as you embrace it, you are who you are. Don't try to copy everybody else. That's whenever you fall down under the radar because you just look like everybody else. So if that's really who you are, embrace it. I don't think there's nothing wrong with it. But don't go out there and be, oh no, you're wrong for this or you're wrong for that.
I'll chime in and agree that I'm like the biggest like was the biggest anti like dress up guy. Like I don't want to dress up. I don't want to dress up. I don't want to dress up. And I still feel for the real estate, dissecting why I felt that way. For the longest time, like going to events or going out, these women, they wear, tight dresses, like super high heels and it's associated with like events and like high class events. And they look great in that setting. Like it's a perfect outfit for that setting. But I think to be wearing that style of like formal to show a home it's not a good look. Right. So there's like and then where do you like decide like on what's a good look or what's not a good look? Hey, do you make the wife feel uncomfortable? Is it an uncomfortable situation? And you get into those styles, right? So for us, that's why I fought like the formal outfit. That I was like, hey, you don't have to wear a suit, just business casual. But like on the dressier side, trying to explain that because you talk to these people that haven't been to these events or have been fortunate enough to go to different places where we've been at, and they think like, oh, I got to dress up XYZ, I literally like printed out, not suggested outfits, but like, hey, this is business casual means to me, and business casual, a suit, but maybe I missed the tie, right? Things like that. So always, I think being clear, and I think a lot of brokerages should take a little more responsibility on what their agents are wearing and what they're doing and how they're dressing out there, what looks good to somebody might not look to somebody else. And it's always tough. But I think that's a good gauge, at least in my opinion. Is if you're wearing something that you think that you have to question, then you probably should switch it.
Yeah, we have a realtor in our office, and it's a woman, and she says that if you can't wear it around kids at a school function, then you probably shouldn't wear it. And I was like, that's super simple in my opinion.
Yeah,
that's super simple.
But what about people who don't have kids? How do they gauge
How do they
it?
gauge that?
Yeah.
Well, if you can't go to church dressed like that,
I've seen some people go to church pretty risky, man.
we're the ones that are asking for forgiveness.
And that is exactly why I have a 10-page PowerPoint presentation on appropriate outfits.
I think really, of course, they've tied success to dressing however you want, right, or dressing down, right, and so then what happens, with some of the realtors is kind of like, well, you can't tell a woman how to dress, right? Hey, my husband lets me go out like this, or I'm an empowered woman and I can do this, and it's like, well, everybody's so scared to step up and say, wait, no, hold on, this is my brokerage. And this is my brand, and this is who you're representing, and the schools, the real estate schools, just the media, everything has taught these realtors, you're your own boss, you can do whatever you want.
But I'm gonna say that it's not just real estate, and I'm gonna say also that it's not just women. To clarify on that, you specifically also get after the men in the brokerage.
I do. Definitely.
Constantly. So it's not just
But
women
they
you're
don't,
like.
they don't complain about it. They just kind of.
They complain.
Well, they complain to you.
Come
but.
on. No, they complain. Everyone's going to put up a fight, but I think the most important, so the message doesn't get lost, is that this is, our brokerage and the brand that we want. And this is what we're going to, go after. Mm-hmm. And if you don't want that, then you don't have to be a part of this.
So, for a long time, right, during COVID, or not, even before COVID, right, everybody's going to the store in their pajamas. Everybody's going, everybody's just dressed down. And I remember 2 years ago, I went to Europe, and I remember I brought this up to you, and I said, bro, it was so strange. It was like people were at the park in a dress, everybody was dressed so nice, and nobody was wearing workout clothes. Nobody was wearing, was dressed down. Nobody had a big old T-shirt with their hair tied in a bun, walking around with no makeup, everybody was beautiful, and it was like, I saw no ugly person over there. And here, we've been taught that, hey, that's how you are. Accept yourself, love yourself, or whatever. I don't know what the terms are, right? So you can't go anywhere. I went. There's a new movie theater in the Woodlands, right? Real cinema, and it's a luxury cinema. I mean, it's really nice. Great food, great seats, everything. And I went to go see a movie with my daughter, and people were there in freaking pajamas. I'm like, why would you come here? You see everybody's dressed up. You see a really nice restaurant. Why would you come here dressed in pajamas? I get it, right? You're watching a movie and you want to be comfortable. But, I mean, how far do you go to be comfortable? I mean, how?
Very rarely do I ever say, let's ask the audience, right? But, I think for me, specifically where I came from and things that we did, I think there's certain income levels that treat certain things as like luxury, mm-hmm. like a movie theater with a restaurant, and there's some income levels that are probably like, oh bro, we're just going to the movie and that's where we get the food, and I where I felt that the most was in airports and airplanes. I've been in a lot of places, been in a lot of airports, a lot of things, and I'm mandatory. I always want to dress up, and one of the biggest things I always said, I've been to a lot of places I never imagined I could go to, and it never felt people dressed terrible. But for me, I wanted to dress presentable and I wanted to be nice because I was happy and excited and fortunate to go to where I was going. And I wanted to give like my best presentation, my best foot going forward. But I'm also, on a, 6-7 hour flight. So, where do you draw the line on there? But I didn't care. I was willing to like be uncomfortable for those 7 hours because I wanted to look good when I got there. Like I wanted to be okay. And there's other people in other income levels that didn't. Maybe in first class or not first class, but just dressed down, went comfortable, did whatever. And for me, that's just unacceptable. But for them, it was okay. I think the movie theaters is probably something the same. It's not like they're going to like, a theater at an actual theater, right? Like a played out one.
I disagree. I think it's nuts for anybody to walk out of the house in pajamas.
I do
in
too.
my opinion, it's disrespectful to the public. It's disrespectful to yourself. Like
I think straight pajamas, yes.
Yeah, I don't want to go to even Walmart and see you in your pajamas. That's
and
wild.
Puffy slippers.
Yeah, like it's crazy to me. It's wild. I mean, I've seen pregnant women dress nice and it looks like they're about to pop. If they can take the time to dress nice, bro, come on, like. You can put some pants on and a t-shirt.
But that was my question. I think that we all came from a similar area. So that's what I'm saying, like to the audience or somebody that has a different opinion. Like I'd love to hear thought process on that.
Well,
you know?
I mean, it's simple. It really doesn't have to do with where you came from or how much money you have. It has to do with education, right? If your family taught you not to do these things, and that's the problem, is that these people, it's a learned behavior, right? They see their mom, acting like a fool and dressing like a fool, so they do the same thing at the stores, or they deem it acceptable to go to any store in their pajamas and their puffy slippers.
Yeah.
But I think that, really it's and I'll push it back. I know I always push everything back to bullying, right? They did such a big push on bullying, right, and self-esteem, that now everybody has high self-esteem, right? Talentless people have high self-esteem, and there's no bullying to freaking regulate it.
Well, that's over with. That's already, the pendulum has swung the other way around. That's getting corrected. You can see it online. People are starting to shame people again. I think one is like in a playing field where everybody's even is the gym, in my opinion, right? Because it doesn't matter how much money you make or whatever. Everybody's going there for the same reason. And I started seeing people call out other people for wearing skimpy outfits to the gym and not wearing deodorant. Like, bro, you should wear deodorant to the gym. It doesn't matter if you're going to come and sweat. Like, you got to be presentable around other people. Mm-hmm. And it's within that environment. It's because the pendulum is swinging back because it just went so far the other way to where nobody cared about anything. I'm going to do me however I want to now people actually care about their surroundings. We see it here in Houston. The clubs are putting enforcement on what people wear. The wild clubs are shutting down like this, left and right. People don't want to go to them no more. Now it's these little pockets of clubs that actually cater to specific type of people. And if you don't want to be there, then you can't be there, right? Mm-hmm. Those are the ones that are doing good. And I'm starting to see that myself right now.
So I don't go to the gym, so I'm not sure. But somebody told me that people go to the gym and they're just videotaping themselves, showing my age there. They're recording themselves on their phone the whole time while they're working out and catching everybody on the background. They're like, hey, I don't want to be on the video. Why is this person recording? And then a lot of people don't even work out. They just kind of stand in front of the mirror all day, checking out their physique and going to the sauna and the steam room.
I heard the same thing. I heard people just go to the gym and pose in front of the mirror like they're in a competition, but they're not competition ready.
Yeah, so, I heard somebody say that about me, but to be fair, I like to look at myself in the mirror when I'm working out. Okay, is that mind muscle focus? Okay,
is that what that is?
Yes, it's a mind muscle focus.
I don't know.
Focus on the muscle. You look at it and just.
I will say I gave it the old college try, right? Because you do good or you do bad, right? And I lost quite a bit of weight. I was actually almost 280. I was 284 when I started trying to lose weight almost 2-3 years ago. And I dropped all the way down to, 217. And, thanks to my uncle here with Herbalife, I got to, he got me in shape and he was like, nah, bro, you're getting big again. You got to go down. I will admit that like when I'm down and I'm not feeling good or I'm not feeling that motivation, I don't want to go. Bro, I literally just like strip all the way down and stare at myself in the mirror, and I'm like, nah, bro, like I gotta force myself to hate myself. I'm like, because I feel good, I feel confident. I'm like, bro, I don't care.
Have you ever done that, Giovanni?
No, but I think there was an agent in our company that wanted to start a group chat to where you send each other the pictures, right?
Yeah.
Y'all send each other.
I opted out of that group chat.
Y'all guys send each other nudes or what?
No.
I opted out of that group chat. I said, I'm good, bro.
No, we keep the jock strap on, bro. It's not.
That's terrible.
You wouldn't know about that because you didn't play sports.
Yeah, I don't play sports. I don't. So go ahead and send me a message if you want some Herbalife, and I'll coach you for free if you buy from me.
No, I wanted to go back to something that you said at the beginning, because I do love this business, and this business means a lot to me. It's provided to my family things that I never expected it to provide, and this wasn't a fallback dream for me. And I don't think it's going to be, obviously my kids aren't old enough yet, but I hope that they continue this. And I don't want it to be a fallback dream for anybody. I really respect this industry. I respect this business. We command respect at our company, and we command respect for yourselves, right? And we back you up, and we do a lot of things for you guys. And I wanted to bring that back because you mentioned that, a lot of realtors, aren't creative, or a lot of realtors don't. They had other jobs, and this was what they fell back on. Mm-hmm. And, I wanted to address that because that is what happens here, is that we are passionate. And I'm specifically passionate about real estate. I got to watch, my grandfather build an apartment complex. I got to watch Nate, look at investment properties, growing up. And these were all things that I was literally a kid. 3 years old, watching my grandfather build, apartments in Mexico City, coming back home, watching Nate, go into houses and think about making investments or this, that, and the other, and then property management and then real estate, and this is, 2004, 2005. And I've always loved this business, and I've never felt like I have like a job. Like I've never felt like this is going to end. And I honestly never want it to end. Like I enjoy it. I enjoy the hustle. I enjoy the passion. I enjoy, people coming in with their new ideas, and I enjoy, like the work. Right. And, obviously, we enjoy the money. It's why we do it. Right. But beyond that, there's a lot. First time home buyers, those feelings. I mean, even like helping business owners do their first shop. I mean, today I'm talking to a girl that's sharing a place, at one of these, food halls. And she's like, man, I want my own place, and please help me, and I don't know where to start. And, that desperation, in their face and their voice, and being able to give them those answers are things that I've always enjoyed. And it takes a lot of work to consistently, like, put out that energy and consistently, be excited for those. And that's why I like to say that, like, we have a high level here. We have a standard here. And if you don't fit that standard, then you will flake off, but it's okay. If you are working with the Lionsgate Realty Realtor, like, we are passionate. We do want this. We want to win more than you guys understand.
And one of the things to touch on whenever it comes down to like the business owners, right? It's super important, as much as I hate to put myself in this little bubble, because I always say I'm American, right? It's our Hispanic culture. It's pretty awesome to see people who want to build their dream life here, even if they're first generation here or they just got here, and we get to help them achieve that dream. They're the ones who are like the most appreciative of what this country has to offer. So within like that Hispanic bubble, as much as I'm always like, oh no, I'm American, right? But that is my culture, as long with my Black culture as well, right? So it's pretty awesome that we get to help those people and get to see them through to that other side of being successful here. And that's like one of the things that we focus on as well, helping everybody and anybody.
Yeah. So what's interesting is these last 3 years has been the trial run for a real real estate agent professional, because before that they were making a lot of money because of the interest rates, because of COVID, because of this whole Instagram or social media thing was new. People got on there and they believed the hype. They believed that these realtors were successful. They believed all these things, and now it's no longer what you're showing me on Instagram, which, by the way, they're no longer showing you anything on Instagram. All the freaking luxury cars are going back to the dealer. All the freaking people are going back to their day job, right? Which I said was going to happen. So right now is whenever the people that learn this business are thriving or are gonna thrive, right? Because the market is starting to pick up again. I think that now people are starting to see these social media influencers or realtors, right? They're starting to see them for what they are, and that's one thing that always upsetted me. If you look at successful realtors, right, they never really did real estate, and I'm talking about Instagram successful realtors. They never really did or sold or did anything that had to do with real estate. They sold a few homes. They might have made some money here and there selling homes or listing or whatever, but there was nobody really knocking it out of the park consistently. And whenever they shifted, it showed who was doing and who wasn't. And some of these realtors will shamelessly tell you, oh, well, if I have a bad month, my husband pays the bills. Or if I have a bad month, this happens. You have one of the biggest influencing brokers in Houston, right? Her husband's a millionaire. Of course, she can play around with the team. She could play around with her realtors. That's just what you see everywhere. There's really never a real estate company, right? Non-franchise, and you know what? I'm not gonna say none. There might be a few, but not any that are just on Instagram left and right showing all this crazy stuff, right? There's not a broker on Instagram that's really showy that just makes money off of real estate. Always has a backup. Husband, wife, family, comes from money, and that's what upsets me, because in my opinion, that's lying or being deceptive. That's being deceptive to people who really want to get into this business and learn. You know?
Yeah.
And that's what I'm seeing. That's what we're seeing a lot of. We're seeing a lot of realtors coming over here, and they made a lot of money that, you know, in 2 or 3 years, and now they're down to zero, and they're like, what do? I don't know. It's the market. It's this. It's that. It's, you know, everything. It's everything but what we tell them it is, you know?
Yeah. And I want to touch on those things. We said during the whole time of COVID and the time after, they said we encourage our clients to sit on the sidelines, and we encourage our clients, you know, to wait, you know, for the time to be right. And the time has been right over this last 12 months. We've gotten some really good deals and made some good money. And I think for us carrying that attitude and telling our realtors, hey, tell your clients it's not the right time. The realtors that listen to us are very, you know, have experienced the success, have been fruitful in this time right now. We have agents that weren't doing too great these last, you know, 2 years. But right now the time's right, and they have the reputation, and they have, you know, the experience, and they understand, and they're ready for these meetings. And you know, people are, you know, I would say a lot of managers or different people say, oh, they're coming out of left field or whatever. But I mean, it's been hard work and preparation and making sure that we're following with the pipeline, executing our game plan, and everything comes at its time as long as you're consistently working. And I'm happy to see some of these agents have success.
And it's funny that you say that, because I have a realtor on my team, probably about a year and 8 months that they've had their license, and they've only been with us for about 6. And they came over here with us because they weren't learning anything over there. And recently, we've got a few deals we're working on right now, hopefully close a few. And I call them, and when I'm calling to check up on them, and we're negotiating back and forth, I'm like, okay, this is the game plan, this is what we're going to do with this one. I need you to follow up with this client, put them on this pipeline, you know, do this, do that. And every now and again, I'll hear like a little sigh, or like they're burnt out. And I'm like, well, what's going on? And then they're like, I just wish somebody told me real estate was this hard. And I was like, what do you mean? They're like, I just feel like people gas me up to get my license and just make money. I said, look, you told me the amount of money you want to make. Do you think that money was just going to come with no effort, no work? I was like, good thing is that you're trying. You're not giving up, but you're going to have to continue to do that. You're only a year and 8 months in, and only 6 months out of those 1 and 8 that you're actually working, because they didn't teach you anything over there. I was like, you got about another 3 to 4 years before it starts to become quote unquote easy. And even then, you got to continue to grow.
Yeah. And I'd like to ask you now, you know, what makes it quote unquote easy? What makes real estate easy to you, Giovanni?
It becomes easy whenever you get your process down, you figure out what generates for you, and then you constantly stay on top of it. So it doesn't become easy, just the routine is already there, so you're used to it. So it's not necessarily easy. That's why I said quote unquote easy, right? Because it can be hard for somebody who's coming in and they've never done that before. But once that's your work routine, that's your 40-hour work week, 60-hour, whatever it is, that's going to generate clients for you, and you stick to it like a job, then it becomes quote unquote easy, because you just got a schedule, you know what to do, and that's what's going to generate clients for you. Every now and again, you have to switch it up. But whenever you have a team around you that's everybody works different things, they can teach you some new things and build your pipeline up again.
I talk about building up the stamina, right? Building up the stamina. You know, when you're first cold calling, you probably only handle a couple rejections, but the more that, you know, you call, you build more rejections. Same thing. You know, you can only knock on a couple doors, or whether, you know, you send a couple letters or whatever, right? It's building up that stamina and understanding. But it really comes down to is to build those repeatable marketing efforts, right? Every day you're repeating them, you're building that consistency, you're building that stamina, and then you're able to like multiply on the things that do work. And then that becomes easier is you've already built the pipeline, you've already have an established process, and you don't let off the gas. And I think that's what a lot of people do, is that they let off the gas at the wrong time. They let off the gas when they got the deals under contract. That's not when you let off the gas, right? And as a matter of fact, if you ever do let off the gas, you're gonna have to start all over. And if I can, you know, paint a terrible picture, it's, you know, your car stalled, you know, you have to get out, you gotta push it, and you gotta jump back in the driver's seat, try and get it turned on and go while it's going a little bit, and then you get to go. I mean, do you really want to get off and do that again, or do you just want to kind of feed it a little bit of gas so it doesn't stop? And that's how I've always looked at real estate. And you want to make sure that you're doing these things, that you never stop, and that you can repeat and teach the system to your team to be able to build.
And it's backed up by science. It's Newton's law of motion, right? An object in motion stays in motion. The moment an outside force stops you, then an outside force has to kick you back in again. And sometimes that outside force is those bills are catching up to you, and it's just harder for you to get that momentum going again. So if you're always in motion, it'll never stop.
So Vic, I have a question for you. So we're known for hiring slow, right? Mm-hmm. We're known for hiring really slow.
Yeah.
So you have been interviewing people for how many years now did you take that over?
2019, 2020, 2018, 2019, 7 years.
So about 7 years you've been hiring, right? And of course, I give you recommendations, but what have you seen in the last couple of months, the difference between even 2022, 2021?
I've seen more desperation than I've ever seen. And this is gonna sound terrible, but I can smell the desperation on you, and I don't want you, me. Nah, it's not that bad, but it is bad. It goes, you taught me something. You taught me something when I was young, and this analogy it's always been on my mind, and it's you have to save yourself first before you can save anyone else, and it's the lifeboat analogy, and before I throw my life raft out, I got to make sure that we're okay or I'm okay, and then I'm able to do that, and that's something that shaped a lot of the decisions that I made, good or bad for myself. I did the bad decisions on my own without affecting anybody as much as I could. And even some decisions that weren't looked as good to the outside, they were good for me. And they were the good decisions that I made. And with that being said, I don't want a desperate realtor here that's not willing to learn, that's hard-headed, that is combative, that's frustrated, that's already beat up, they're no longer enamored with the business. There's no passion. I could keep going on and on and on about the things I see in these people. Yeah. And it's like they could be good people and they could have been good real estate agents, but they're at the wrong place at the wrong time, spending the wrong energy on the wrong people. And I don't want to be the guy you fell with. I just don't. I don't want to. I already know. You're already going down the wrong way, and I just.
Yeah, they're at the end of their rope, and they think that you're just gonna save them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's sometimes you have to start from the beginning with some of these people. Yeah. Because they were taught nothing. And
what's hard about that, and this is my beef with other brokerages here, and I think it's a brokerage beef across a lot of brokerages. There's a lot of different business models in this business, and that doesn't mean that whoever you're with doesn't care about you or doesn't value money, right? It takes money to make money. Mm-hmm. And our business model is that of a legacy brokerage.
Yeah.
And we have high splits, but where I beat legacy brokerages is where I'm not charging you. You are not my business. I don't need you to pay my technology fees. I don't need you to rent office space for me. I'll give you that. I want you to be successful. I want you to have all the tools that you want. We want that for them. Right. So that is where I truly feel I have the edge on legacy brokerages. Not only that, these legacy brokerages, their leaders are no longer in touch with their agents like we are.
Yeah.
So we're going to edge them out all the time because we care and we like this and this is us. Right. But then you have other models, right? The multi-level marketing models, and then you have the flat fee models. And those models aren't sustainable for what we do and how we do it. Mm-hmm. And they may not be sustainable for them. How many times do you have them, you call them fly-by-night companies. I used to hear this with title companies when I was in the real estate business when I first started, because they used to close on homes and like disappear, right? And how many fly-by-night real estate companies have you seen over the time? And they end up just joining EXP or end up joining another multi-level marketing because they can't sustain their flat fees.
Or they relaunch themselves as a different brand.
Yeah, and so a lot of those factors play into why I hire slow. I'm not gonna change on our splits because I know our splits are gonna allow me to give you the tools that you need. They're going to allow me to select the proper manager for you that's going to push you to that next level. They're going to allow me to give you everything that you need, and we'll be there. We'll be there for you. We're at those events with you. We're recommending events. We're reminding you. Right now, what are we reminding our team to do before the end of the year? Q4. What was our last meeting? It's been 2 weeks ago, Giovanni.
Set up the events or community events that they're going to go to, and make sure that they do it with a properly manner. That way we can have all the merch needed and also the social media side of it as well, to make sure we go out there and we put a good light on them and also for their clientele that they're inviting to go over to it. Yeah,
tired of this last minute, unthought of, no passion, no excited. I'm tired of it all. I mean, I don't want to be perceived that way. I want to have the full package. I want my agents to be well prepared, and that's why I'm reminding them now, and I've been reminding them since August. Hey, back to school's up. The events are going to start coming, open houses and all those things. I will admit I didn't get the opportunity to do this in spring the way I wanted to. My career is taking me in a different path. But Giovanni has been able to build his team in the way that we want, right? Mm-hmm. And Giovanni, share some of the messages. But I think it's important. Share some of the messages and some of the feedback that your realtors are getting at these community open houses and these things, because it goes in line with what we preach on SCP frameworks. And I think it's important for people to know that.
Yeah, I think one of the main ones that stood out from an open house that I did for another realtor as a favor, and it was like the first time that I actually did that. Never hosted another open house for another realtor. And I was, as soon as it finished, texted them all the updates, gave them everything. And they're like, "Oh, wow, that's so awesome. You got a great turnout. I didn't think you were going to be able to do that. That's awesome." And in the back of my head, I was like, this is just how we do things. I never thought I was doing anything like above and beyond, but that's because I don't have the insight, because I've only been here. This is my only brokerage. I just do things the way you guys taught me to do it, right? And now I'm teaching my realtors, and they're getting the same things. I mean, we helped a builder sell out a whole community just from open houses. Not even necessarily going super hard on social media marketing, like straight up guerrilla style marketing. Like we sold out half a community pretty much. Yeah. And now they want us in other communities. We're helping build these connections. It's just the way that we move. It's different, and sometimes it sounds weird me saying that, because sometimes I can't explain it because I don't have the other aspect of it. Yeah. I'm picking up the other aspects of it, what other brokers do, by realtors that are coming here. And I'm just like, that is so crazy to me. Like, you're not even working. Like, there's actually no work being done. Like, you're not actually trying to generate clients. You're not actually trying to help your client. Yeah. Like, to me, it's always the most important thing for the client. Get that home sold as fast and as much as possible, or get that buyer what they need, not necessarily what they want sometimes, but what they need. And all these realtors just don't know how to do that.
Yeah, I think the comment that I was alluding to, because this is our kind of our core values there, is building within the community. And my kids just started school, and it's a fun time. And I never understood, like, I tell the realtors to do these things, but I never understood the impact of it. And this week we got a message within the company chat, so that's why I was asking you to bring that up.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, one of our. I mean, even then I saw it in person, right? Like, we did a little event at a school, and everybody that walked in pretty much knew her. Now that school is where she has her kids. But she went to another event that wasn't just for her kids, and the community, everybody was like, oh, I know your name from the stuff you've been sending me. And this is not even social media stuff. This is like actual, again, guerrilla marketing, right? So yeah, alluding back to that, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It's a grassroots marketing, SCP frameworks, segment, pick your area, target, specific zip codes, houses, areas, neighborhoods in there, position yourself as an authority. And I'm watching my agents do this, full time. I mean, I put out a lot of media. They see me on social media. I do that. I go to, my kid's school, and everybody does know me. I'm running into a lot of people. Thankfully, wives, volunteers here and there. So there's a lot of things that we get to see, and a lot of people that we know, and that feels good. But I will say, from a company standpoint, it felt great to see that our marketing plan is working, and that this agent is building a following and creating an impact in her communities and even surrounding areas, because it's what we're built on, and it's what we want. And it's hard work. It's hard work, but it feels so good to me to hear that other people are giving us our flowers for the work.
And I think it goes back to, you don't have to spend, thousands of dollars on SEO, thousands of dollars on paid ads, thousands of dollars on all this crap that you want to do, right? If you start right where you're at, right? And you start marketing your area, you're farming your neighborhood, and people don't like to hear the word farming anymore, right? But it is farming. If you farm your area and you get known as the local real estate sales pro, right? You will definitely have success like those realtors have had.
Yeah, and it feels good.
And it even goes back to, as much as we're talking about like just grassroots marketing, right? But it even goes back to social media, like the way that I've been switching up my style on my personal content. I've gotten messages from people who just seen me out in the street shooting my content, and they're like, "Oh, like, I didn't know you were out here in the community like that." A lot of times they didn't know that I was a realtor until they start messaging me back and forth, and then I throw that in there, right? But they're starting to see me out in the community. They know that I'm somebody in the community. Yeah. And they find me, and then so it all falls back into that grassroots. And going back to what Nate was saying, in your specific area, you don't need to dominate all of Houston. Dominate where you're at, yep. And then expand from there.
And that's the thing that whenever I speak to new realtors, I say, well, What area are you in? Oh, I can sell all over Houston. Well, I know you can sell all over Houston. You can sell all over Houston. You can sell all over Texas. But where are you dominant at? Where are you getting all your sales from? Right? If you can't narrow that down, then you're just working off your sphere of influence, you know? And a lot of people are like, hey, well, I pay leads, right? I pay Zillow leads for a specific zone, right? That's still not branding yourself or making yourself known, because all that person is going to know is that Zillow got you that realtor, you know?
Yeah.
No matter what impact you hold on this person, no matter if they like you or anything, Zillow is the one that has been marketing them and the one that they're dealing with.
Yeah. And I'm going to leave, if you've been watching along this far, I think some of the advice that we had on our Instagram videos this week, I'll give a gem that only if you've watched it this far is work on those call to actions. Those call to actions are more important than you think. I watch a lot of social media. Because we have to keep up to date with social media to make sure that we're competitive in that market. And I'm watching people do great content, put out some great videos, but they're not putting out the call to action. They're not asking for the business enough. And it's important for you to do it.
Yeah, there's too many people doing skits. They're just doing videos to attract attention and to make themselves feel better about themselves or make themselves feel productive.
I'm gonna do a skit, bro. Don't throw rocks at me.
I'm just saying, man. If you're doing skits, man.
I just took your whole morning working on a skit.
You got to tell the difference between skits and actual marketing, right? And a lot of people don't know the difference. You know? There's nothing wrong with skits. I mean, it's funny. I like watching. I like making fun of you, but don't waste your time doing skits thinking that's marketing for real estate. It's not.
Yeah.
Walking into a house, with your backside showing is not it.
Personally, I like it. Keep doing it. So. That's the type of content I like. So we're going to leave you with that last gem. Not what I said, but what Vic said. And if you don't want to post those videos, you can send them to me directly and I can approve or
That's
not.
terrible.
I'm Giovanni here with our Lionsgate Realty podcast. Don't know exactly what direction we're going with the name just yet, but we're back at our regular programming. Go ahead and let these two guys exit. You can find me on Instagram as that Giovanni Frank.
My name is Victorino Cortez. I am the president here at Lionsgate Realty, and you can find me on Instagram at Real Presidente.
So I'm Nathan Valderas. I'm the master broker for Lionsgate Realty. You can find me in all my social media outlets at Better Call Nate.
All right. Until next time.